It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That is, as always, karting with a K, fast-paced white-knuckle racing, where the only speed restriction is your move through the corners. Make sure, watch the videos on YouTube that Joe's Karting posts, because as odd as it is to say, you go faster when you slow down. Don't push yourself. You're looking at me also. You're like, where is he going with this? Don't push it through the corners. Brake. It's okay to brake because then you can carry your momentum. You're not sliding through the corners. And one of the tricks that they taught me at Joe's Karting was if your wheels are screeching, you're slowing down. So keep your wheels underneath of you. And honestly, get out there today before Watkins Glen kicks off. I believe coverage kicks off at noon today with green flag just after 1 o'clock. Get out there and understand what road course racing is all about, because that's kind of what Joe's Karting is a lot like. It's a lot like a road course. And one thing you'll hear today, and maybe you could back me up on this, Dirk, is this corner really sets up the next 5 corners. If you mess up on this corner, then you're going to get passed in the next 5 corners.
Well, I don't know if it'll set up 5, but 2 or 3 corners coming up. Absolutely. You got to have the line on the first one to get the line on the second one, which leads you in the right line on the third one. If you miss it, you're out. I
am Dan Taylor, and that is apparently the human pincushion, Dirk Houston, former Camping World Truck Series official, and my co-host for the year. I do appreciate you coming down and helping out as always. You do a good job. I like having you on the show. You keep me in line with my NASCAR stuff.
Yep, and your man crushes too.
By the way, we didn't get to talk to my new man crush. I talked to Mike Massaro. My new man crush is Steve Letarte. We talked about that last weekend or the weekend before that. But Mike Massaro is going to join us in turn number 3. He's a pit reporter for NBCSN who has the coverage today for Watkins Glen. We're going to talk to him about a lot of different things. So make sure you stick around for turn number 3. Turn 2 is going to be Shayle Bade. She's going to talk to us about her career and what's in store for her and Smokey. Smokey's going to come in the studio, by the way.
Okay.
She gave Smokey a bath last night. She said, unfortunately, she didn't get to get a bath today. She didn't, as in her, but because she's coming right from work. But anyways, yeah.
I don't see the lettuce and tomato anywhere.
I wonder if all of a sudden we're going to go off the air because Smokey's going to chew through something. Turn number 4, as always, we'll preview the race to come, which will be Watkins Glen. We'll talk tips from Chad. We will give you an update on the Midwest Fall Brawl presented by Iowa Speedway and a lot of other things still to come. But sad news we start off with. It's a little old. Last Friday, I believe it was, the former owner of Iowa Speedway, Rich Bellino, passed away. I know you knew him a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, I about went to work for Rich, but obviously I'd seen him at the racetrack several times, and also used to frequent his La Vista Keno and have dinner and play a little Keno and stuff down there.
From what I understand, a very good man, very big contributor to the racing community, and kind of a sudden passing if you want to contribute to the family's fund that they've got going, you can find it. Just search Rich Bellino, and that'll get you taken care of. But sad news there. Just sudden passing, and somebody that 63 years old. Too soon to go.
Understand it was a bee sting and evidently had allergic reaction and took a while. I mean, it was a next day event, but when it's sudden, it's never good.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about results from Pocono. This was such a weird race. And I think I might have messaged it to you, but this is exactly what NASCAR needed after, quite frankly, that snooze fest that we called the Indianapolis. That was just a rough race, which, by the way, it has been for so many years we've been going there. But anyways, that's a soapbox speech for a different time. But Pocono was absolutely amazing. Scary incident on pit road, and one of those that it just kind of struck me as we were just standing on pit road at Iowa Speedway in kind of the same area, and nothing happened at Iowa Speedway, but I'm sitting there watching Casey Kane's car hit that inside wall, watch the helmets fly 20, 30 feet back. They destroyed the wall. They had to go under red flag. Scary situation there.
Yeah, well, the scariest part is that was the second time almost in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
I mean, that the wall got hit. You could see the other skid marks from Jeb Burton's practice crash there.
Yeah, and I think they said it on the broadcast. Casey pretty much followed Jeb's skid marks right into the same spot.
A little bit different angle. He hit the wall down a couple more pit stalls down, but it was still, the same thing. And like, I mentioned to you right when it happened, I sent you a text. Yeah, you'll see where they're extending that wall come next week. And
sure enough, they're working with Pocono to extend the wall. You called it. But I thought when we were standing there and we were getting ready for the race to get started, and we were kind of doing some filming and some stuff for the show, I remember you saying to me, you're going to have to be really careful where we were standing, because we were standing in between, was it David Starr's pits and...
I don't remember who the other car was, but
I think
we were supposedly empty pit stall.
Yeah, and David Starr was in front of us, and you said you're going to have to be real careful, because when he peels off out of these pits, step away, because he may catch a lug nut and send it to you. And that, after seeing what happened at Pocono, and after you talked to me about that, it really got me thinking, like, maybe it's time for NASCAR to crack down on spectators and sponsors being in the pits like that, because numbers are on the side of fate that something bad is going to happen to a spectator.
Well, when you get down to the technicalities, you sign a release to get that garage pass. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
But I've also heard that doesn't hold a lot of water.
Well, and unfortunately, in today's world, no release or waiver or anything is lawyer-proof. Somebody's going to have enough money to lawyer up, and inevitably NASCAR is going to have to pay a boatload of money to defend themselves, and whether NASCAR wins or loses, it's going to change either way.
But you say nothing happened to us. As it turned out, we were in a pit stall that was occupied by somebody who just was doing a start and park. So, like 3 laps in, here comes a car, comes parked right in a pit stall right in front of us. One of the fire crew guys made us get out of there real quick, but that was a little bit interesting.
Yeah, that was very cool. And that was a heck of a race at Iowa Speedway last Saturday. If you missed it, you missed a heck of a race. It kind of a snooze fest at first. It was a green flag run. There was still action to be had on the track. There wasn't this big battle for the lead, but then as the cautions started waving, I think they had 2 in the first 3 quarters of the race.
200 laps. They had 2 cautions, and then they had 5 cautions in the last 40 laps. They had 3 in the last 15 laps.
We were sitting there because we were going for Brendan Gaughan, since we had a good conversation with Brendan earlier that day, and man, he gave it everything he had, and that's what race fans love to see. Screw the points, to heck with points championship and that kind of stuff. Go for the win, and that's what Brendan knew. I'm not going to catch him when he comes out of turn 2 if he's in front of me. I got to get him going into 1, and that was great to watch. And unfortunately, again, it happened after that race that Cup drivers were saying, we need to go to Iowa, we need to go to Iowa. The sad and unfortunate truth and the politics of the whole thing is Iowa's not going to get a race for a very long time as far as the Cup Series is concerned.
Well, it's an ISC track, so it just depends on where they want to steal another race from, because they're not going to add something else to the schedule. No,
they're not. They're not. And NASCAR, I think NASCAR needs to take a few races off of the schedule and give these teams a little bit more time to kind of relax. Excuse me. I'm getting choked up over here.
Well, that Iowa race would fit right in that Indy slot just fine.
Oh, God, yes, it would. Oh, man, that race is just... Anyways, all right, let's talk. We've bantered a little bit for long enough. By the way, a couple of notes. We got an amazing conversation with David Starr. We asked, once again, another one of these interviews that we said, can we get 5 or 10 minutes of your time? And we ended up taking 25 minutes of David's time. I mean, he's pretty much sitting, suiting up into his fire suit while I'm shutting the microphone off because we went too long, and his rep was untucking it. It was kind of funny that she was trying to usher us out, but I kept asking questions. We had a great conversation with him. We're going to play that hopefully next week or the following week. It kind of depends on how the interviews line up, but we've got some great interviews lined up for you guys over the next couple of weeks, and we just don't have enough time in the hour. We're going to have to get more time.
And we added some stuff to the prize vault.
We did. Man, we added some great stuff to the prize vault. That was really cool. You grabbed a couple of lug nuts one off of David Starr, 3 off of David Starr's first pit stop, and then 3 off of Brendan Gaughan's first pit stop.
And we do have the video of David's first pit stop. So if you end up with a David Starr lug nut, we can also email you the video.
Yep, you got that right. So we did a lot of fun stuff over at Iowa Speedway. All right, for Pocono, the race that was... tough day for Casey Kane and Kevin Harvick. They're the back 2 finishers. Casey got a point on the day, which is exactly what he didn't need. He was trying to get into the chase. He was right on the bubble. Now he's, I think, 15 points out of 16th place.
I haven't seen the update. He was 8 points out at one point.
Yeah.
I remember seeing.
Kevin Harvick, that doesn't really matter. I mean, the only thing that matters is that he had a good car and he could have maybe got another win on the season, which could have gotten more bonus points for the first round. But, the great thing about this format is that it allows drivers to kind of hang it out there a little bit and go for it. But Kurt Busch was another guy who didn't have a very good race. He was involved in an accident. Who ended up hitting him? I can't remember off the top of my head now. Was that the 9? No, it wasn't the 9. It was maybe the...
Yeah, it might have been the 9. The 9 rear-ended him real hard.
Yeah.
Let's see, when he went in the corner, maybe Menard, or because a 47 hit him last time.
Yeah.
That didn't happen this time.
He had another one of those tricky days where he had a good car and it just didn't pay off for him. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I teased, but forgot where the brakes were and ends up in the back of the 9 car. Let's see who else had a bad day. Ryan Newman finished 23rd. Denny Hamlin 22nd. Kyle Busch, half a lap short.
But that was a bad day for Kyle.
Here's the silver lining, though. He still gained on 30th. He went from being in the chase, not locked in the chase, but in the chase, because there's still 5 races for him to give it up. But he went from being in the chase to now 13 points behind. So he's gaining, but you were right there. What was that? There was the old the football player that had the NFL record. He ended up rushing for a new single-season record with a couple minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and then 2 plays in a row they gave him the ball again, and he goes backwards and ends up giving up the record. And so you worry as Kyle is once he qualifies for the chase. Do you change up your driving style to be conservative? Do you prevent losing any points?
He would have changed it up the other day. He could have gone for a quick gas and go to make sure he finished and probably still made it in the top 10 because he had 20 seconds on Kenseth.
Yeah, and that was just a mistake it was just a simple mistake they made. They miscalculated, which a couple of teams miscalculated.
Well, you can't miscalculate. You can't miscalculate when the guy's driving the car.
Yeah.
He kept shifting. If he wouldn't have shifted that whole tour, he'd have made it.
Yeah, and that's the reason why he said, I didn't realize I was that close. If I was that close, I'd have saved more. But I was just told to save, so I saved a little bit. It wasn't
nearly enough.
Right. So same thing with Joey Logano. They thought they were going to be a half a lap short, and ended up being 2 laps short. So or a little lap and a half to 2 laps short. So just a weird day at Pocono. A lot of weird things happened. Your top 10: Carl Edwards, Tony Stewart 9th, Clint Boyer 8th, AJ Allmendinger 7th, Jimmy Johnson 6th, Greg Biffle 5th. Dale Jr. 4th, Jeff Gordon 3rd. Brad Keselowski got the runner-up spot. And Matt Kenseth gets his 2nd win on the season. First win at Pocono. First fuel mileage race win that he's had on his career. And he is now, into the chase with 2 wins. So
well, and for him, it really wasn't a fuel mileage chase win because he was on a different pit stop strategy as those other guys. So
yeah, he said at the end of the race, so I think, did I actually just win a fuel mileage race? But yeah, so that ended up turning out to be one heck of a race. Pocono is getting to be one of that racetrack that a lot of drivers are having a lot of fun with, and it is it's a very, very interesting track to race at. So that was what happened at Pocono. Let's take a quick break. Shayle Bade's going to join us along with Smokey. We'll talk to her. In turn number 3, we'll talk to Mike Massaro of NBCSN. And then in turn number 4, we will preview the Glen. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
One of the hardest things to find in the world is a trusted mechanic. Your car breaks down. You need someone that won't see you as an opportunity to pad their wallet. Jim at Tuffy Tire and Auto Service in Bellevue is that person. From brake and AC inspections to custom exhaust and new tires, Tuffy Tire and Auto Service in Bellevue is your new trusted source for getting your car back on the road. Find them on Facebook at Tuffy Tire and Auto Service Center of Bellevue and online at tuffybellevue.com.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shayle Bade, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
This is Andrew from Kaziski Auto Parts. Kaziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kaziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kaziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kaziski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Heading into turn number 2 here on the front stretch. Turn 2 brought to you by Kaziski Auto Parts, online at kaziski.com and located at 51st and I Street in Omaha. Call 731-4592 to get your car back on the road at an affordable price. Kaziski Auto Parts, helping you get back on the road for decades. That place has been open for, 20, 30 years now, I think, Dirk?
What's that, Kaziski's?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been open from the 60s.
Oh,
At least.
That's 20, 30 years for, right? That's my good math here.
Iowa math. There you go.
Joining us in the studio now, one of our favorite guests. Love having you on the show. Shayle, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Just made my day right there.
I was going back through and preparing for the interview, and I was going back through some of our old interviews. We had you on the show 3 times last year, before August. And this is the first time I've had you on the show this year. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you should be.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I
Well,
appreciate you having me on anyways.
And joining us in the studio, too, is the one that's maybe more famous than Shayle Bade Racing on Facebook, is Smokey Bacon. How's she
Yes.
doing after her surgery?
Oh, she's doing so good. I can't even believe it. I was so stressed out with getting her eye surgery. And now that I've done it, I feel so much better. Like, she's a whole new pig.
Well, it's got to be easier than putting the contacts in.
Yes. And it was actually more so of pulling her eyelashes out from underneath her eye. So every time I'd see her, she'd let me, I'd grab her eyes and I'd pull them apart and everything was good. And she'd go eat some grass and she'd come back like 20 minutes later rubbing her eyes and I'd just pull them out and she'd go on her way. Now we have no problems.
Go ahead, get right up on that microphone for us.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, very good, very good.
Okay,
All right.
good.
So what happened to Smokey? I mean, I just saw on Facebook that she had stitches and she was having surgery. So what ended up happening to her?
Well, what happened is it's very common in pigs and like pudgy dogs' face. But what happens is their eyelashes go into the bottom of their eye and rub on their cornea, which if you leave it for too long, it'll cause blindness and it causes irritation and stuff. So I asked my mini pig education group on Facebook, what should I do when I'm having this problem? And I wanted to trim her eyelashes.
There's a group?
Oh, group from all over the world. Like,
That's-
there's like 8,000 members, and they share all these pig stories, and they're hilarious.
There any from the Middle East in that group?
Oh, tons of them. I mean, there's so many pigs that you couldn't even imagine, from little tiny baby pigs to 700-pound pigs.
Holy cow.
Because when people get a teacup pig, they expect this pig to stay 20 pounds at the max, which is what their breeder will tell them. Well, just like anything else, it's going to grow up and be its own whatever it is. And so
St. Bernards are very cute when they're a pup, too.
Oh, yeah,
And then they turn
so
into
cute.
a slobbering, bumbling mess.
yes, and some pigs do that too. But it is just so funny. And like you can ask any question on there, which is very helpful, especially because pigs aren't a very popular pet, which they are getting more and more popular every day. And you can ask any question, and all these people will give you all their input on their past experience of what you should and shouldn't do. And so they said, no, do not trim the eyelashes. She needs those. And I was like, okay, and what do I need to do? And it was surgery. And I was like, no, nobody wants to go through surgery. And especially me.
Yeah.
Like, this thing is more like a 2-year-old child than a dog or a cat, with acting and everything.
Well, you're pretty big into the exotic animals, so I'm not surprised at all that you've got a pet pig. And really, I think, honestly, like, a friend of mine knew nothing about this. I was looking at your Facebook page. She goes, what was that? And it was a video of you playing with Smokey at the shop, and she goes, I'm getting one. I am getting one of these days. To heck with my cat, I'm getting a pig. Congratulations, you've started a trend.
Yes, thank you. And just so everybody knows, this thing, I swear to you, up and down, everywhere, that this thing is more like a 2-year-old child. So if you want birth control for your kids, get a pig.
Yeah.
They will never want kids. Like, after having this, I do not want them. Like, she woke me up 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I don't know how people do this.
Oh, my God.
And then with the thing getting hurt, like, that is just horrific.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to, like, she got bit by our dogs one time because she got too close to their bone, and dogs don't speak pig, and pigs don't speak dog. So Smokey, being a little piglet, went over to see what the dog had, and she just snipped at her like she would her brother, and got her good, and oh my God, it was the worst day of my life.
Are you tearing up right now?
No, I'm
I thought
not.
you were tearing up. Okay.
Not going to cry today.
We'll see. It's a long interview. We'll see.
I know, that's what I was thinking, actually.
How's the 03 doing for you this year?
We're doing really good. We've had a super strong season so far, and this year it's a lot tougher competition just because a lot of the 360 guys drop down to the 305 RaceSaver and is racing with us weekly, which makes us rookie drivers a better driver compared to these veteran racers who's been in a 360 for 10 years and now coming down to a 305. So it's a little bit slower for them, but they are still equally as good, and they're teaching us so much more than what rookies could teach each other just racing at Eagle. So I couldn't be thankful enough for all of the older drivers with more experience coming down to the 305 and putting up with us, for one, because some of us can be squirrels at time, but it's all a learning curve. It's all about seat time, patience, and getting to know your car and getting the bond with your car. Because as soon as you get a bond with your car and you mesh as one, that's when you're just going to be a rocket no matter where you go.
There's a lot of the 360 guys just kind of waited to see what the 305s were going to do, whether it was going to hit, and they said, we're going to sit out a year. And if it looks like we're going to have car count every week, then we'll go ahead and do the 305 deal. But if we're not, then we won't. So,
and that answer sounded a lot like a Camping World Truck Series or Xfinity driver talking about when a Cup driver comes down. Sometimes the fans don't like it when the Cup Series guys win, but the Xfinity guys are like, hey, we love following in their tracks and figuring out how they're running these races because we learn a lot more when they're beating us versus when they're not here and we're winning on our own.
Exactly.
Wow. What was more special for you, getting your second win of your career at Eagle Raceway or doing it on Father's Day?
I'd say they both had a pretty good hand-in-hand value, but winning on Father's Day really meant more to me just because my dad has put up with me through the absolute worst and our absolute best. So giving him a gift that really couldn't be bought by money was awesome, and I couldn't thank him enough for everything that he's done for me throughout all these years and sticking with me.
I hate to make it sound like I'm trying to stack one track against the other one, but this one's got to be more special than Beatrice, right? I mean, it's your second win, so nothing can replace your first win, but it's at your home track.
Yes, exactly. And we started at Eagle Raceway. This was our home track. This is our home track. And Beatrice, if you guys have ever been there, Beatrice usually goes to a dry slick track, which dry slick means it's going to be follow the leader, most likely on the bottom. You won't have too much of a top side, and you don't have much passing. And we drew very good in Beatrice, and then we ended up playing musical chairs for our pill draw, and I ended up winning the musical chairs. So we got to start on the front row, which helped us out a ton, especially since it was a dry slick track. And at Eagle, we started probably at third row outside in both of our wins, give or take, right around there. So actually driving and working for a win means more than me than to just starting at the front and finishing at the front, because anybody can do that.
Yeah.
But if you have to drive your way through and then get through lap traffic, that really shows how much improvement you are as a driver.
So you recently had a bit of a situation with Joe Orth, who does photography throughout the Midwest. I've met him down at Kansas. He kind of has his little home there at Eagle Raceway. Take us back through what happened with that whole thing, because it kind of blew up on Facebook and became a really big thing.
Well, to me, it kind of is like it's the smallest big thing I've ever had to deal with. Who thought you would be in trouble for sharing a photo off of a public website to your own page for your fans, family, and friends to see?
Yeah.
Well, multiple other drivers, family, and friends have shared Eagle Raceway's photos as long as I can remember. I mean, watching Billy Alley when they had the 360s, everybody would share their wins photo with Eagle Raceway's watermark all over it. Give credit to the track because the track watermark is over it. Mm-hmm. And I shared my photos of my winning this year at Eagle Raceway, and I said, thank you, Eagle Raceway, for the awesome photos of Saturday night's win. And I was asked to remove those. Well, for me to remove them, I would like you to give the same speech to all these hundreds of other people who've done the exact same thing that I did and have them remove their photos also. Well, that's not the case. I'm the only one that has to remove the photo, and that's what made me mad about the whole thing, to want to make it public. And like, basically I felt like discriminated against. Like, why can they share it but not me?
To me, this felt very indicative of the whole Napster file sharing thing that happened, because the recording industry went after just Napster, even though Napster was just one of many file sharing networks. And it kind of felt like that was a little bit with Joe. Like, he was going after the big driver and just saying, hey, listen, this is my property, and I would appreciate it if you would. I don't know the conversation between you two, so I don't want to put words in his mouth or in his head, but it just felt like that he kind of went after you because you were the big driver that was doing it, and it was easy to go after you because the word could spread easier than him trying to email all of these people to take their pictures down. Does that make sense?
Right. Makes total sense. And on the photo that I shared, it just had Eagle Raceway's logo. It didn't say Joe Orth on it at all, so I gave credit to Eagle. And now the photos that he uploads to Eagle Raceway's website will now say Eagle Raceway and Joe Orth. So the picture that I shared, if anybody had a problem with it, it would have been Eagle Raceway. Because Eagle Raceway, even if this was the first time racing at this track, Eagle Raceway is what you would think, because that's the only name on the photo.
Yeah.
So I shared that photo and gave credit to Eagle. And if anybody had a problem with that photo, Eagle Raceway needed to tell me to remove that photo. And now that Joe Orth has put his watermark on all of Eagle's photos, now he is giving himself permission to tell people that they need to take this photo down also, which I haven't shared any because he won't take any, which no problem. And then the other deal is I have my own photographer helping me build my portfolio for the future, for debuting in NASCAR one day. I will have all of these photos to look back and cherish all these moments that nobody gets to see. Nobody gets to see what's going on in the trailer or in the pits, all the hard work that it takes to win that race.
Where's the hard work at?
She's eating the trash can, by the way.
Oh, yeah. She'll tip it over and go in it. It happens.
Anyways, that's Smokey Bacon's interrupted the interview. Gosh, we've taken so much time. Let's try to move on with some of the other questions I got for you. But in the end, I had a long conversation with Joe Orth in the pits at the road in Knoxville, and hopefully you two can sit down and have lunch and just hash it all out, because Joe's a very big photographer in the area and is very good at what he does, and that's how he makes his money off the whole thing. And you're an up-and-coming driver, so let's all get together. Let's all be friends.
And then my other point would be, why would you bash the person that, and not disgrading anybody, but when one driver has 4 pages of photos and other drivers just have 2 slots of photos, which driver are you obviously selling more of?
Yeah.
So why would you call that person out negatively and tell them not to share the photo when they know, when they do share it, they know exactly where to buy that photo?
Yeah.
If it says Eagle Raceway, they know they can buy that photo at Eagle Raceway.
Yeah.
So why would you single that one person out?
We'll have to talk to him about it. Maybe one of these days we can get you two in studio. Maybe separate you two and just have a nice conversation.
I've tried that.
I'm gonna be the UN. One could be Germany. One could be the United States during World War II. We can figure things out.
That would definitely be interesting.
Well, maybe that's what the show needs to kind of spike up some ratings.
Can I buy a ticket for that?
Yeah.
I will sell you that ticket, Dirk.
I don't even know if I want to be there.
All right, we talked to you before in the past about running the Knoxville Nationals. The 360s was last night. The 410s are coming up this week. What's the long-term plans for you and your 305s? I've heard that there's a 360 in your future in 2016, maybe 2017. I know you've got plans for bigger and better things, but let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
We do have plans on getting a 360, but it also comes with a lot more work than just getting a 360. I mean, in order to get a 360, we are going to need to get a lot more sponsors than what we have, because we're, one, going to be increasing value to our car due to the motor. Everything else is the same. And the other thing is going to be traveling cost. Eagle Raceway is only like 10 minutes from our house, and they don't race 360s, so therefore we're going to have to travel. So we'll need more money to help us travel and be competitive at other tracks. this winter, I'm going to work my butt off like no other, like I haven't done before, and strive to get enough money so where we could be financially okay to race 360s.
I'm having a tough time concentrating. I'm hearing Smokey oinking in the background. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys can hear that on the radio, but she is just going crazy down there. Well, we talked to a young lady on the radio a couple of months ago, McKenna Haase, excuse me. I'll have to send you her driver profile sheet. It's a 26-page breakdown of everything she has. If you get a chance, I think you two would have a great conversation about how to market yourselves, because I don't know if she had somebody feeding it to her, or if she's just gifted with this stuff, but she knows how to go after and find sponsors, and she's fully funded 305 at Knoxville Raceway. You may have heard. Have you heard of her?
Yeah, I actually used to race with her in mini sprints. So, yeah, I've known her for a long time before she got into the 305.
She is, I'm so impressed with her. She's 19, 20, and just, absolutely phenomenal. But anyways, she'd be someone that maybe you guys could work together with on working on getting up to some other things for you. So.
And what's cool about me and her is we actually share a sponsor. And we got asked Chicks Gear, and we got both asked. I was like, how cool is that? And out of 5 girls, we were one of the 2 girls.
So what's the weirdest thing you've autographed?
Weirdest thing I've autographed is probably a forehead for a child. But I did ask permission by his mom before I signed his forehead. But that's probably the most bizarre, because I know my mom would not approve of me getting my forehead signed when I was 10, 12 years old.
So kind of a weird question, but being a female driver and as successful as you are, and quite frankly, you're a good-looking girl. You've had to deal with some creepos, right?
Yes, but I think we all have.
Yeah. Well, I have.
I never have.
Him and I never. We don't have to deal with creepos. I think we'd welcome a creepo or two once in a while, but we don't have to deal with them. But has it gotten serious to where you've had to maybe get the authorities involved?
No, nothing too serious. If anything, I have my pit crew security guy say something, but that's pretty much as far as it goes. We're very inviting and welcoming, and you don't want to turn down any fan, because this is what this fan looks forward to, is coming to the races, interacting with the driver, and getting to know drivers. So I feel very fortunate to even have creepos following me.
Well, because I see how, frankly, women act with some male sprint car drivers and, frankly, just throwing themselves at them.
Groupies.
Yeah, groupies. It's a completely different world when you flip the script and it's a male fan talking to a female driver. And so I kind of wondered how that interaction would work. Does Chris get offended, your boyfriend? Does he ever get real defensive, or is he pretty cool about things?
No, he's actually very, very chill when it comes to that. And once the fans do come in the back, he's gone. Mm-hmm. I never really see him. I get to do my thing, and he does his, and then we'll load up the car and go home.
So you're talking he goes and sees his other girlfriends at the track while you're taking care of the fans? Is that
maybe? I don't know if he's that lucky.
Shayle, who's been your biggest influence in your racing career?
You're probably expecting me to say some big shot race car driver.
No, I'd be expecting you to say somebody local.
Tell you the truth, my dad.
I was expecting your dad.
Yep. Yeah. Without my dad, I wouldn't even probably be in a race car. When I was 8 years old, my dad asked me out of the blue, hey, Shayle, you want to race a go-kart? And I was like, sure, Dad. And off we went, and here we are 15 years later.
Yeah. This Chris guy.
Oh, gosh.
Is it getting serious?
After 3.5 years, I'd say it's kind of serious.
You guys aren't. He's not still carrying your books to school. It's actually kind of now he's wearing your letter jacket and.
Yeah, something like that.
You guys talked about a future at all? Surely that's come up.
I'm sure that we do have a future together, and I don't think I really could see myself with anybody else, but we've never really dropped the big W word.
That's a good.
Which kind of, I don't know if that should worry me or how I should feel about that, but I feel very comfortable where we are right now. And I've heard from a lot of other married people, do not get married. So worst thing you can do is get married.
You know what? If Miss Piggy and Kermit can't make it work,
nobody can.
No hope for anybody.
Nobody can.
Can't believe those two.
Well, you find the right person, it does work. I've got a brother that's been married. He dated for less than a year and 4 kids, and I think they're close to 30 years. And
That's
just like
amazing.
they're brand new.
Marriage
you know?
today, unfortunately, we're trying to fit everybody into a former standard, and today's society doesn't work that way. Do it at your own pace. You guys
Yep.
are having fun. You're relaxed. Everything's copacetic.
Everything's
Just
good.
keep
Yep.
living.
I have and if I do get engaged now, I'm the type of person that I want to be engaged for like 5-6 years. Like I
Yeah.
personally do not feel old enough to get married or have a child right now. Like
Yeah.
I am perfectly content of where I'm at.
Just make sure he knows how to lash the valves, and you'll be good.
Exactly. That's all we need to do.
All right, I only had a couple of minutes for you, and we've taken much more. By the way, I'm going to put this full interview on the YouTube channel. What you're hearing is a trimmed down version to fit for the radio. So make sure you head over to the Facebook page and find the post where we posted today's interview. We'll have the full show up on there. Shayle, always do love having you in studio.
Thank you.
You're
I
amazing.
appreciate it. And Smokey. I
And
know you
Smokey.
only wanted me here because of Smokey.
Well, you got me.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
It's all about that pig.
Turn 3, we'll be back with Mike Massaro. Turn 4, we'll preview Watkins Glen. Lots to come still on the front stretch. This is AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Race fans, NASCAR returns to Kansas Speedway Sunday, October 18th. It's the 5th race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. NASCAR's finest are all in, including Jeff Gordon in his final full-time season race at Kansas.
And Jeff Gordon is right where he needs to be.
Park free, coolers welcome. Tickets for the Hollywood Casino 400 Sprint Cup Series race, $99 or less. Kids tickets, just $29 at 866-460-RACE or KansasSpeedway.com.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Heading into turn number 3 here on the front stretch, brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets for the Hollywood Casino 400, the Sunday, October 18th race are available now. Call 866-460-RACE or visit KansasSpeedway.com. We've been talking about it for 4 years. If you haven't been to Kansas Speedway yet, now's the time to do it. October 18th is going to be the Sprint Cup Series race. Round number 2 of the series kicks off, the second race in that series will happen at Kansas Speedway. So make sure you join us for that race at Kansas Speedway. Again, 866-460-RACE or visit KansasSpeedway.com. Joining us on the phone now to get us ready for Watkins Glen today to talk about Pocono last weekend and a little bit of behind-the-scenes news and notes for NASCAR is Mike Massaro, reporter for NBCSN. How you doing, Mike?
Dan, it's great to be with you. You know, it's been an exciting year so far, and, Watkins Glen's only going to ratchet the excitement up even further. Road course racing is some of my favorite racing, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen on Sunday afternoon.
Well, let me start off, Mike, by saying hands down to what you guys are doing over there at NBCSN. I know you came over from ESPN last year, and I was happy with their broadcasts. I was kind of nervous as how NBC would pick up the broadcasts and go with it, but, man, you guys have hit the ground running with just some stellar work.
Well, thank you for saying that, first off. I'm just humbled to be with such a great team. There's a great depth of knowledge on this broadcast team, certainly a lot of talent, and I'm grateful to be part of it, and I appreciate the kind words.
It really feels like you guys have a team there that really does care and is really pushing to get all assets and all aspects of the sport covered, and you guys do a fantastic job. I can't give you enough props as how happy I am with your guys' broadcast.
Well, thank you. It's been a lot of fun so far. We're gelling still as a team. Like I said, we're working with a lot of experienced people and such, but we haven't necessarily worked together. So that's a big thing, and developing chemistry. Luckily, it's come together pretty nicely here in the first few weeks. But I think as we continue to work together and get closer to Homestead, it's only going to get better.
Yeah, that transition from something you did so long over at ESPN to a new team at NBCSN. How's that transition gone for you?
Well, there's a new style, and you need to adjust to that a little bit. But some true professionals are overseeing this entire project, so that's made it very easy. And working with a guy like Rick Allen in the booth, and Jeff Burton, he's a driver I covered when I was just coming up through the sport, over a decade and a half ago. Steve Letart's a guy that I've known for quite some time, even before he was a crew chief. So it's been fun to work with those guys, and of course the folks on pit road. Dave Burns is a guy that I was a pit reporter with at ESPN. Marty Snyder, believe it or not, I worked with at MRN Radio. That goes back even before my TV days. And Kelly Stavis, I just got to meet her this year, and she's been an exceptional talent to work with and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was. You spend a lot of your time down on pit road covering what's happening right now and talking to a lot of the teams. But given your choice, would you stay down in the thick of things in pit road, or would you head up into the booth?
Well, I kind of like being down on pit road. I like being in the middle of the action. It just feels exciting. You get a burst of adrenaline. Makes the day fly by, honestly. At the same time, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to one day be in the booth and have the job of working with a couple of star analysts and overseeing the broadcast. I think I'm a ways away from that, though. I enjoy my time on pit road, and I'm certainly happy to be there.
What's the most embarrassing thing that has happened to you on pit road?
Well, I've misspoken a few times, that's for sure. That stuff's just part of TV and live TV. It's not like being a writer. You don't have a delete button. You can't edit your own stuff and go back and rewrite. Once it's out of your mouth, it's out there. And there have been some embarrassing moments. I don't want to get into too many specifics because I don't want to dredge up that stuff. But there have been some bloopers, that's for sure.
Oh, I see. Whenever I'm down, because we go to Iowa Speedway and Kansas Speedway to cover those races, and whenever I'm there, not even live action, just there before on pit road, kind of walk around, I'm so afraid that I'm gonna touch something that it's going to be the reason why the lug nut comes off and Ryan Blaney doesn't win the race. Or
well, luckily that hasn't happened. I can tell you though, there have been moments like after a rain delay, a lengthy rain delay, where maybe a pool of water has collected on somebody's overhang on their pit box, and then suddenly in the middle of my my spiel, it decided to let loose and fall on our heads. That's happened. Things like that. I don't know that I've necessarily sabotaged anybody's race, however, and thank goodness for that.
Yeah, no kidding. Several Cup drivers have talked about their 2016 plans. Like Danica Patrick and Kurt Busch seem like they're well on their way to being re-signed to Stewart-Haas Racing. Have you heard anything of what Tony Stewart's plans are for 2016?
I have not. Obviously this year and the way it's gone for Tony has it's generated a lot of speculation and perhaps some rumors that are unfounded about, is he thinking about retirement or something like that. I've heard stuff like that, but I think that's completely unfounded. I think that, Tony still has a lot of good years ahead of him if he decides that, to be part of this, and I think he will. As far as what he is going to do next year and beyond, I have not heard anything concrete, but I would be shocked if it's anything different than what he's been doing.
I know we're really early in this whole Rob Kaufman and Chip Ganassi merger, but what's your thoughts on what's going to happen with the one team of Jamie McMurray?
That's a good question, and I think for me to speculate as to what might happen would be just that, and I'm not sure it would be responsible of me to do that. But certainly there's a lot more to that story to be told. What Rob Kaufman said this past week in Pocono about the performance of Michael Waltrip really having a lot to do with the structure moving forward. I think that's true. I think that they need to see how this year plays out before they can decide financially what they can do. In terms of consolidating, how much they need to consolidate, how much if any, Michael Waltrip will become part of Ganassi Racing, and we're going to have to wait and see on that whole situation. But I think there's a lot more dominoes to fall, and there's a lot more of that story to be told.
Elliott Sadler announced earlier this week that he's going to be making the move to Junior Motorsports, who had absolutely a phenomenal season last year in the Xfinity Series. Kind of struggling this year. I think I say struggling compared to what they did last year with all the wins they had. Do you think that's the team that's finally going to get Sadler over the hump and getting that Xfinity Series championship?
Well, it can't hurt. I mean, Junior Motorsports has been, or has proven, I should say, that they've got top-notch equipment week in and week out, and it's certainly another opportunity for Elliott. But I can't say that Roush Fenway hasn't provided him with a decent platform in the Xfinity Series either, because when you look at the Xfinity Series, Roush Fenway has been pretty strong throughout the course of 2015. You can't necessarily say that about Roush Fenway when it comes to Sprint Cup Series racing, because they have had their struggles there. But in the Xfinity Series, Chris Buescher's looked good. He's been atop the championship standings for quite some time, and Bubba Wallace has had some good runs himself. So Roush Fenway, has given Elliott Sadler some good resources to work with as well. Now, Junior Motorsports, for whatever reason, it seems like that may be a better situation for him. Junior Motorsports has given good race cars to their drivers throughout the course of the season as well, so I would expect the same.
We're talking with Mike Massaro, pit reporter for NBCSN, who's going to have the broadcast coverage today for Watkins Glen. Mike, there seemed to be just something in the water at Pocono on Sunday. This just was what is going to be the next driver to have an issue. This is kind of the race that NASCAR needed to really ramp up the race to the chase, because it really kind of shook up that bubble zone for a lot of drivers.
Yeah, fuel mileage races have a way of doing things like that. It made things interesting. It's funny. I think back to the interview that I did with Kyle Busch afterwards, and he specifically said, when I asked him about now only being 13 points out of 30th, he said, "Well, had I not run out of fuel, I would have been in, right?" And of course, I had to just chuckle a little bit. I'm like, "Yeah, you would have been at that particular time, but there's still a lot of racing to go, and I don't think." I'd be very surprised, and I think a lot of people would too, if he does not qualify for the chase based upon where he stands in relation to the top 30 in the standings. I mean, he's just, he's on fire right now, and it would take a total collapse, I think, for him not to qualify inside the top 30 in points. So that's created some drama. But certainly when you look at the bubble and you look at guys who have not won yet, guys like Clint Boyer, Casey Kane, those are guys that are probably feeling a little bit of tension right now. They don't have the win to fall back on. They're kind of right there at the cutoff in terms of points, and you got to believe, like I said, that Kyle Busch is going to get in and bump some of those guys out. And we may also see another winner that isn't a guy that we think about. When you think about road course racing, there's a guy like A.J. Allmendinger who could spoil the party for sure and win a race and suddenly qualify for the chase, and then all of a sudden you've got another guy that was hoping to get in on points that can't necessarily count on that anymore. So you look at the bubble over the next several weeks and you wonder if some of those guys could finally crack a victory. We remember a year ago Casey Kane did it in the final regular season race. So it can happen, but there's going to be some drama leading up to Richmond for sure.
Winning a championship sometimes comes down to getting hot at the right time. It kind of feels to me that Kyle Busch is getting hot at the perfect time if he can maintain it through the chase. Is there another team out there that you feel like maybe starting to warm up and is about to really burst and get hot during the right times?
Well, I think you can look no further than Joe Gibbs Racing. I mean, I think that entire organization has hit on something, and because of that, I think anybody under that banner right now has a chance to really, make some hay, so to speak. A guy like, we saw Matt Kenseth get the victory this past week in Pocono, but no reason to believe, Carl Edwards and Denny Hamlin can't also cash in on whatever Joe Gibbs Racing has found and Toyota has found, because they're running as good as I've ever seen them run, and there's some good racetracks coming up for those drivers, and I think that anybody at Joe Gibbs could certainly hit on something right now and get on a roll.
Mike Massaro of NBCSN. Man, we do love what you do on Sundays. Keep up the good work.
It is my pleasure, Dan. Thanks for having me.
So again, Mike Massaro of NBCSN. If you haven't checked out one of the broadcasts yet, do it. The broadcast team in the booth is hands above what the other broadcast partners have, and I'm not talking about the former ones of ESPN. They did a good job with it. I'm talking about Fox, and out of respect, I didn't want to trash another broadcast partner with Mike on the phone, but Fox is really, the way that NBCSN is doing these broadcasts, just it makes Fox look like a bunch of clowns, and I can't get over how good NBCSN is doing it and how bad Fox continues to do it. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 4. Dirk will be back in the studio. We will preview Watkins Glen. We'll talk tips from Chad. We'll also get you set to go for the racing action to come. This is the Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
One of the hardest things to find in the world is a trusted mechanic. Your car breaks down. You need someone that won't see you as an opportunity to pad their wallet. Jim at Tuffy Tire and Auto Service in Bellevue is that person. From brake and AC inspections to custom exhaust and new tires, Tuffy Tire and Auto Service in Bellevue is your new trusted source for getting your car back on the road. Find them on Facebook at Tuffy Tire and Auto Service Center of Bellevue and online at tuffybellevue.com.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shayle Bade, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Coming to the checkered flag here on the Front Stretch. We're heading to turn number 4, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. All the action for Watkins Glen is on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube, starting with coverage at noon and the green flag just after 1 o'clock. Coverage is on NBCSN and MRN. If you can't make it to Quaker Steak and Lube and you're not available at your TV to watch it on NBCSN, you can always download the MRN app, and you can listen to it live on the stream. When we were sitting in the pits at Iowa Speedway, and dumb me, I forgot our race receivers so that we could listen to the the team radios. I just downloaded the MRN app, and I listened to the MRN app. I listened to it that way. I mean, it was about a 3 and 4 minute delay, so we were watching lap number 23, and they were taking lap 10, but whatever. It is what it is. But it's a good and convenient way, and you don't have to worry about being in a cell reception or a radio reception of anything like that. You don't have to listen to local commercials. It's the MRN app is free and pretty great. So
just a tip for you, Dan. Mm-hmm. You can watch the race, and you don't need the radio at all.
I can. You know what? For so long, we've been talking about turn on the Fox broadcast, put it on mute, and just listen to MRN. Now, with as good as NBC's doing, you don't have to do that. It's for the first time, I think there is a better broadcast than what MRN is doing, and that says a lot because I have a lot of admiration for those guys over at MRN. The 5-week Picke'ems contest, make sure you get your picks in by green flag just after 1 o'clock today. I was looking at the spreadsheet last week and after week number 2, and this is the first time that we've done one of these 5-week contests that somebody's actually pulling away after the first 2 weeks, and that's Kevin Beadle and Teresa Wolf. They both have a 23-point lead over 3rd and 4th place, which is Dave Wallenberg and your brother Hugh. But then 24 points back is Mike Carlson and Monty Oman. It's tight on their back, but Kevin and Teresa really do have a good lead going into week number 3 at Watkins Glen. But it's Watkins Glen. You think Pocono was crazy? Just wait till today. Somebody tries to push it on fuel mileage. Was it Sonoma or Watkins Glen like 2 years ago that Juan Pablo Montoya ran out of gas on the last lap? He was coming. I think it was Sonoma because he was coming up that hill. Because it's what, they're 2.5 mile tracks?
Watkins Glen's actually longer than that, I think. I want to say it's almost 3 miles.
Is it? So that's a long lap to try to stretch your fuel. And it's tough because it's uphill, downhill, round. You're really pushing it. And it's tough to save gas at those road courses. So, again, make sure if you're a part of the Picke'ems contest, make sure you get your picks in by green flag today, which is just after 1 o'clock. Also, future Picke'ems contest, we're getting close. We've been talking about this this one track. There happens to be a race coming up in October, and we submitted some proposals and some requests, and man, if this goes through, it'll be so much fun.
For somebody.
Yeah, for somebody, and I wonder if they'll let us tag along. We probably won't be able to get. They'll probably like, no. You guys are just a radio host. Yeah. This is a fan.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. So, sorry to speak in code, but we don't want to talk about it until everything's all secured and ready to go. But make sure this next contest, which starts here in a couple of weeks, if you want to get involved in the Midwest in the contests, not the Midwest Fall Brawl, it's already going. But if you want to get involved in these contests, just send us an email, frontstretch590@gmail.com, and we'll put your name on the list to be involved in it. It's absolutely free, and you can win some absolutely free, fantastic prizes.
Well, they can get in a Fall Brawl in practice.
Yeah. That's true. That's absolutely true. You could do that and kind of get the feel for the whole thing. That's a good idea.
If they stroked out 3 winners, there's a chance they could win.
That's a good point. So that's the way those contests go. They're free fantasy league contests. You can join. Join at any time. Just have a good time and kind of play around with that stuff. We have a lot of fun with the contest. Let's talk about Chad's tips for Watkins Glen as I am trying to delay and get to it. Talk to us about your thoughts on Watkins Glen. Did you ever officiate there? I don't think the Truck Series ever went to that track.
No, well, they did, but it was before I'd started working with them, so I've never been to Watkins Glen. I personally have, in the last few years, have started liking the road courses because some of the better racing's been there.
Yeah, and it really makes me mad because I always see this every year about the road course ringers. Come on. And they had a picture on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. Somebody posted about, it was a picture of 3 road course drivers. I know one of them was Borisset. I didn't know who the other 2 were, and I thought, I don't think Borisset has finished a road course because he's wrecked out in a couple of races. He's not a ringer anymore.
Well, the road course guys don't race cars that weigh over 3,000 pounds. They're a lot lighter cars than they're used to, usually with a whole bunch more tire. Mm-hmm. So for them to get in these heavy cars, because the braking's so much different, they've still got a chance. If you look at some of the guys that race in the Xfinity Series and stuff the last couple of years, they've done fairly well. I don't know about a bunch of wins, but they've been in the top 5 and right there at the end. But, a lot of the Cup guys have gone to driving schools and stuff just to, they take pride in their work and they want to be good at all the races. And, you hear them say, they want to win at a super speedway. They want to win at a half-mile track. They want to win at a 1.5 mile track. They want to win at a road course, too.
And a lot of these drivers, we didn't have the road course regulars like we did. And because it's only on our schedule twice a year. When they first started adding road courses, it was new to all these oval track guys. And so it took time to adjust. Now we have guys like Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, AJ Allmendinger, who are very good at road courses. So when you try to bring in this, like Boris said, he's going to finish probably outside of the top 15 because the regular Sprint Cup guys are much better at the road courses, and like you said, they've gone and tested, and they've gone to these courses, and they've learned how to drive these things.
Well, but like Jeff Gordon, until he came to NASCAR, he'd never driven a road course. Mm-hmm. Tony Stewart had because he had several years in the Indy cars, so he'd driven some. But, guys like Carl Edwards, who's got a road course win, Martin Truex, who's got a road course win, Kyle Busch, they'd never driven road courses until they came to NASCAR.
Chad says this is going to be the series' second trip to a road course this season. Obviously, we were just at Sonoma about a month and a half, 2 months ago, right? Yeah. The word NASCAR fans are going to hear a lot today is going to be wheel hop. Talk about wheel hop for me.
Wheel hop is when the momentum of the car overdrives the brake and the suspension. So you're hitting the brakes. The suspension is basically unwinding from the load it has on the wheel, and literally your back tires start to hop. They just start skipping, and they'll talk about it a lot, and every once in a while it's very prominent and you can see it. And you'll also see it caused occasionally if they're trying to brake and catch one of the rumble strips on the inside of a turn. That'll start them to bouncing. And once it starts bouncing, you've got to have a very good set of shocks on there to keep it, to get it to quit. Mm-hmm. So you don't see the very good guys do it very often unless they just go too deep into a corner and really have to hammer the brakes. But
You'll hear it with anybody. It doesn't necessarily have to do with your ability at a road course. It happens to them all.
Correct.
I've heard Tony do it. I've heard Kevin talk about it. Brad and Kyle and all of them do it. So it's not a talent thing. It's just I drove a little hard into that corner trying to get the spot and
to get a pass, to get set up for a pass, or maybe trying to set them up for the next corner. They wanted to be right up on them and just wheel hopped a little bit and.
Chad says the driver that everyone should take today is A.J. Allmendinger. Obviously, there's other good picks out there. Kyle Busch, if you got him available. The advantage that A.J. has is that you're probably not going to use him the rest of the year. So go ahead and use him. Save your Kyle Busch for another race or your Kevin Harvick for another race. I think this is kind of turning into one of those super speedway ones where I talk about save your everyday talented drivers for your everyday races and use a wild card at your wild card races. And I think the Watkins Glen can really turn into a wild card, especially if we start seeing cautions with 10 to go.
Well, I mean, AJ won the race there last year. It's his only Cup Series win. So obviously that means he can win there. But I don't know if I'd put all my eggs in his basket. I know I'm not going to.
Who do you think you're going to go with today?
This is your favorite guy's last chance, I think.
I think so, too. So Tony Stewart?
That's kind of where I'm thinking. We'll see what goes on in practice and whatnot.
Yep.
But, he really hasn't done much of anything since the sprint car incident last year.
But he's gotten better over the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is my fandom kicking in, but he's qualifying better, which is step one. So they're getting the car better before the race happens. Now, he qualified, outside pole at Indianapolis?
Yeah, I think it was outside pole.
He went back pretty of course, he pitted about 13 times on that last the last couple of rounds there. But then he did well at Pocono, a top 10. So who knows? Maybe they're kind of starting to get that thing turned around, and this will be the track that he'll be able to muscle his way back up to the front. Chad's sleeper pick is going to be Kyle Larson. He says it is a small sample size, but Larson has the best average finishing position at Watkins Glen. I think Larson's been there twice now. So, yes, it's a small sample size, but he'd be a good sleeper to pick. The 5 fantasy drivers you should take for Watkins Glen: Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, A.J. Allmendinger, Carl Edwards, and Jimmy Johnson. Would you throw maybe a driver or two on there that he doesn't have? Kyle, Brad, A.J., Carl, and Jimmy? We just talked about Tony, so...
Tony, Gordon's won races there.
Yeah.
Like I said, Sam Hornish has had a couple good runs there that fell apart at the end.
Yeah, he's good at the road courses, too, with that IndyCar background.
Clint Boyer's had some success at road courses.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he has.
Another guy that's kind of got to go for broke here pretty soon. But like I said, I'm looking for Stewart to give it everything, I think they'll unload quick. I think they'll qualify good. And, just the pit strategy goes good. He's got a shot at winning.
So that's the way Watkins Glen could lay out today. Again, the coverage on NBCSN and MRN kicks off at noon with green flag just after 1 o'clock. I came across this flyer that the National Sprint League sent out. Big race coming up tomorrow at Oskaloosa, Iowa at the Southern Iowa Speedway. $20,000 to win. And what a great race to put just before the Knoxville Nationals, because you're going to have a lot of drivers obviously headed to Knoxville for the Nationals. So why not head, Oskaloosa is probably about 45 minutes to an hour away from
an hour,
Knoxville.
I think.
So not a hole at all for these guys to go over and get their cars ready to go that night and battle at Oskaloosa for $20,000 to win. I think it's one of the largest purses in Oskaloosa's history.
I've never been to Oskaloosa, but I do know they've had a lot of wingless shows there, during this week, and there will be a lot of guys running 360s that normally don't, just because it's Knoxville, and they're going to want to get a little work in at the track before the 410s the following week. And if the car owner comes scooting around in there, then they'll bring it back. It's August 10th, one night stand for $20,000. That's
What are you doing tomorrow night? You want to go over there? Oh, you're out of town, aren't you?
Unfortunately, I'll be driving back from Colorado at the time that kicks off. So That'll be about 3 hours in the wrong direction for me.
Well, that's going to do it for us today. We do appreciate you joining us on the front stretch. Tune in next week as we're going to have Shannon Anderson's going to join us. Stock car driver throughout over at Shelby County and Crawford County. I think Adams County also. We'll talk to him about his history in stock car and dirt racing. And it's kind of up in the air right now. Either we're going to get Rick Allen from NBCSN that's going to join us, or we're going to talk with David Starr. We'll play that Iowa Speedway interview with David Starr. So that'll be next week's show. As always, we will recap the action from Watkins Glen. We will preview Michigan and so much more. Thanks to Shayle Bade and thanks to Mike Massaro for joining us today. Thanks to you for tuning in. We'll do it all again next week. Thanks, Dirk.
Sounds good.
Have a good one. We'll be back next week here on the front stretch.
Race fans, NASCAR returns to Kansas Speedway Sunday, October 18th. It's the 5th race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. NASCAR's finest are all in, including Jeff Gordon in his final full-time season race at Kansas.
And Jeff Gordon is right where he needs to be.
Park free, coolers welcome. Tickets for the Hollywood Casino 400 Sprint Cup Series race, $99 or less. Kids tickets, just $29 at 866-460-RACE or KansasSpeedway.com.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.